What's cracking, big dogs? Welcome, Bike, to the channel. Welcome, Bike, to the headquarters. Welcome, Bike, to Bunkbed Breakdowns, which is BDGE's own Dynasty Fantasy Football featured film of the week every Wednesday morning. I am joined, well, this is their show, but sometimes I join them. That is Noah at FB God. That is Mike at Mike Me Up on Twitter. Make sure you are following both of them. We have a very, very cool announcement today. Michael and no, I don't know if you've even been working on this or whatever, but we got a bunch of fucking nerds in the background working to make sure that we have pulled together the ADP, the average draft position data from all of our Big Dogs Dynasty leagues. So right now in Discord, I believe we're north of 75, right?
80.
We're at 81.
We're at 80, and we are fucking chugging along. We're gonna hit 1,000 by the end of the summer.
I
want
hope
1,000 leagues in there. 1,000 leagues. Noah, you're fucking co-commissioning all of them. Mike, you're getting the ADP data from all of them. We got a bunch of leagues through Discord. Most of them are money. Most of them are paid. So we have been taking all the ADP data from it, and we are shoving it into your faces today. The full list of ADP is in the draft guide. So that is an exclusive piece of content right now. monkeyknifefight.com. If you use the promo code BDGE when you sign up, you will get $10 to play with on there. You will get the draft guide, the rookie guide, the dynasty, the season long, the fucking Dr. Morse injury guide. You will get, Michael, even give you a hand job over there. Today, we are talking about the best values according to the ADP data that we have derived. I've got no more energy left in me, so you guys can take it over.
Look, let me tell you why.
Let's hit that intro.
Let's fucking go.
Look, let me tell you why this ADP data is important. And, we're going to come out with the Bible verse 2, which I just fucking spent all weekend writing. It's going to be in there as well. But just so you guys know, look, there's a lot of ADP data out there. And I'm going to tell you right now, most of it is just trash. And it's not usable because I'll tell you why. Because people are doing them like via mock drafts. And I don't know about you, but if there's no money on the line, I don't give a fuck. Like I will draft fucking, Mitch Trubisky in the 5th round if I want to. I don't give a damn in a single quarterback league. But the other problem is most people time out, right? So after you go, the most exciting part of the draft is rounds 1 to 8. Nobody gives a shit about double digit rounds.
Hey, Scott does. Scott cares a lot about those rounds.
Look, I barely care about those rounds in real money drafts. So how much do you think people are going to care about them in fake drafts? And they just don't. And then the other thing is look, a lot of these mock drafts are with Twitter experts and analysts and all these guys that are all part of the same group type thing. But at the end of the day, you're not playing against those guys, right? How many of you guys are playing against a lot of these mad following Twitter guys? Probably not many, right? So for the most part, if you're in the Discord, you're playing with other people in BDGE, and this is what the ADP is made from. So when I say that there's a chance that you're playing with people that made this ADP data, that's not even hyperbole. Because I know there's some guys that are literally in 12 leagues that when I was looking at the ADP data, there's guys that are in literally 12 leagues. So there's a chance that if you join a new league, you're probably playing with one of them and you have that competitive advantage because this data is made from people that put real fucking American dollars down, okay?
Why they got to be American?
Because this is the US of A. Okay? And League Safe and Team Sake only take US dollars, I'm pretty sure.
All right, Ming.
So, look. This is
the best ADP data in the industry. I have no doubt. I have complete confidence in saying that because, like you said, all the other data is pulled from secondary sources that are not paid leagues. They're mock drafts. They're from the same people doing the same drafts over and over and over again. This is real data from real paid drafts that we have with just people that love fantasy football. So I'm really pumped about this. Mike, thank you, and whoever else.
Westron, shout out to Westron, baby.
Westron, you're the GOAT for that. So let's talk about some of our favorite values that we see in the ADP landscape right now. Who wants to kick this off?
I think we should just start off with our boy. Kind of look like him. Wish I could grow a stash. Gardner Minshew, quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Currently the quarterback.
Did I go get Animal? He's downstairs eating fucking McDonald's right now. He kind of looks like him.
If we Animorphed, we would look like him. But we got Gardner Minshew.
Someone do that. Someone do one of those fucking pictures where you take the baby of Noah and Animal and then it fucking becomes Gardner Minshew. Sorry.
So per BDGE ADP, he is the quarterback 25 off the board, 89th overall. And when you see a bunch of guys going ahead of him, Drew Lock is the quarterback 15 off the board. And sure, you can argue that Drew Lock is going to have a little bit more continuity and a little more staying power because he isn't a 6th-round pick. But looking at what the two did last year, like Gardner Minshew isn't far behind, and I would even argue that he had a better rookie year. I mean, that's subjective, right? He had almost a better rookie year than Kyler Murray. If you pace out his 16-game season from games he played 100% of the snaps, it was 3,799 yards, 24 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 440 rushing yards. Kyler Murray, 3,722 yards, 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 544 rushing yards. So everything was worse except for the rushing yards, which is to be expected. But Gardner Minshew is somebody who not only gives you valuable points through the air, but he can also do it on the ground. And the fact that they've added 2nd-round wide receivers in 2 of the past 3 years in DJ Chark and Laviska Shenault, and the fact that Leonard Fournette is a pile of shit. Their offensive line stinks. They're trading every single piece they had on the defensive side of the ball. Leads me to believe that even with John DeFilippo, however you pronounce his last name, leaving town, they're still going to have to throw. And Jay Gruden comes in, and although he isn't as pass happy as DeFilippo, he showed with Kirk Cousins that when he had a quarterback that wasn't Alex Smith, he isn't afraid to sling the ball. Gardner Minshew is just that. He's going to have every opportunity to prove himself this year. And you can easily say they're going to go out and draft Trevor Lawrence next year or Justin Fields. We also thought Miami was going to have 0 wins this year and take Tua at 101. They luckily got him at 105. But you can't just pencil these teams in to be terrible because they're in a division with Phillip Rivers, who's going to hand out the ball like it's charity. They're in a division with Bill O'Brien, who does not want to win games. And then, Tennessee, Derrick Henry, whatever. So they're in a division that's going to be able to give away a few wins here and there. Gardner Minshew might be able to keep his job because, 1, I think he's a pretty good quarterback. And number 2, you can't just pencil them in to be the number 1 pick in 2021.
If you looked at his numbers and you didn't know it was Gardner Minshew, like you kind of alluded to in the beginning, 21-6 touchdown to interception ratio as a 6th-round rookie quarterback is like unbelievable. And it's going so far under the radar literally just because he doesn't have the draft capital. And now you're adding these guys like Laviska Shenault, which plays to the hand of people, the quarterbacks that aren't as accurate because these are line of the scrimmage guys, right? You're getting targets around the line of scrimmage, letting them make plays after the fact. Even adding a guy like Chris Thompson, who gives you some explosion out of the backfield from the passing game where you're not just throwing it to Leonard Fournette and he's fucking doing juke moves that don't go anywhere. They go out of bounds and shit. Chris Thompson can add a little bit of an explosion there. So you like the addition of the weapons. I love Gruden as an offensive coordinator. I think he's going to be good for the offense, throwing the ball downfield a little bit more. And I forget what podcast I heard this on, but with his rushing numbers, I think it was like any quarterback who had the same amount of rush attempts or the same number of rush attempts per game, they all had at least 3 rushing touchdowns. So you can expect his rushing numbers to go back up. He's an athletic guy, so he's going to have that rushing part of the game to him. For fantasy, that's such an unlock. And if you expect those numbers to go back up, 3-4 rushing touchdowns this year, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibilities. And that, boosts you so heavily in the passing game, even if he does take a little bit of a step back there. So I love Gardner here too.
And just looking at his pure rushing numbers per game, sorry to cut you off, Mike, but you think of Deshaun Watson as somebody who's going to run a ton and get you a ton of value on the ground. He only averaged 2 more rushing yards per game than Gardner Minshew last year. Almost 2.5 points per game from Minshew's point total came from his legs. And what's to say he's not Blake Bortles 2.0 is just going to keep doing that because their offensive line isn't good. And if their offensive line improves, then guess what? He has more weapons to feed the ball, and they're good after the catch, and they're able to pick up yards after the catch for him to put up more fantasy points.
Yeah, look, I mean, all I'll say on Gardner is, like, obviously the risk is he's going to get replaced. But the thing is, like, he's already priced as if everyone already assumes that he's going to get replaced.
Like, what if we're all wrong? What if he hits?
Yeah. You just what if he's Cousins?
Jackpot.
Like, what if he's the next Cousins, right? And, like, people are drafting guys like, Drew Brees and Tom Brady over him, where you just know for a fact those guys are only going to be 1 to 2 year rentals. There is no upside. Like, none of them are playing until 50, even though Tom Brady thinks that he is. But, like, on the off chance that Gardner Minshew actually improves, 1, and 2, like, does better than people think and retains his job, like, getting a quarterback for 6th round rookie salary, that cannot be understated. And I think if he proves like even remotely like capable, they're going to give him some runway here. So it's just basically like, it's one of those instances where like risk reward is not matched up. It's very little risk to draft him, and it's just like massive reward. So
I also think like on that point where like you're getting guys, Drew Brees and Tom Brady's around there, you're drafting those guys knowing you have them for 1 year, 2 years maximum. I mean, even if you think worst case scenario for Minshew, that's also the what you're getting from Minshew, right? But I would argue even if Minshew has a bad year this year, his rushing ability is still going to put him within like 5 rankings of like a Drew Brees. Like Drew Brees maybe quarterback 11 or some shit this year, right? Minshew, as long as he's on the field for 16 games, will probably be like a top 16 quarterback. Plus, you bake those two in together and you're getting Minshew, if he does hit, at 24 years old. So I don't see any world in where Minshew is not like a fantastic value in startup drafts right now.
And even if he does suck this year, like where would he rank among the quarterback landscape in the league as far as backup quarterbacks go? Like he would be number one. And if any job opens up, everybody's gonna be calling him. Like Teddy Bridgewater is getting what, $20 million a year to throw 5-yard slants to DJ Moore. There's no doubt in my mind that even if Gardner Minshew does get dethroned next year, he's gonna have a job sometime in the future.
Yeah, his one season, his rookie season, is already like more impressive on his resume than like most NFL quarterbacks have any single year on their resume. So he's definitely the best backup quarterback. So go grab Minshew, please, if he continues to fall.
Yeah. Next up, Ryan Tannehill, the comeback king of this year. And look, I think this is a case. There's a couple players on here that you'll find like this. It's just like it's a case where someone, he's burned people in the past like many times, even though for fantasy perspective, he's actually still kind of decent under Gase. And then he came back and just had an absolute like monster season from like every single metric you can think of, especially the ones that matter, like EPA and CPOE, like completion percentage over expectation. He was a really, really good and really efficient quarterback. And I think people are just like, look, he was too good and he's going to regress.
I love that. I love that in fantasy.
Yeah. And it's
Tell
just like,
Aaron
dude,
Jones right now.
Too good,
Yeah.
you have to fade him.
Yeah, like he's just too good and it can't happen, right? But his positional ADP is QB 18, right? So he's a low end QB 2. He's still 32 years old, got that contract extension, like really, really, understands the offense. He's tied to AJ Brown. AJ Brown's tied to him going forward. I just think he also has a lot of rushing upside, rushing floor, I guess, that we haven't seen before. So I think he's just like a great QB too. Like I've loved picking him up as my quarterback too, as like that veteran. If I'm looking to win right now, he's just got that great floor, and if he regresses, which he probably will, because the TD percentage was definitely unsustainable, but he kind of makes up for it a little bit on the rushing side. I think he could be a pretty sneaky, like upside, like top 15 scoring quarterback.
Yeah, I think what's super important there, the efficiency can come down, but when we're talking about super flex leagues, like you're not expecting your quarterback to have a top 3 ceiling for the most part, right? Like the difference between, we talk about this all the time, difference between quarterback 8 and 18 in scoring is so minimal that like, okay, Tannehill might regress in the touchdown department, but at the end of the day, he's still going to finish in the top 15, which is not going to be that far off from the top 10. You know what I mean? So it's not like a big jump. If you don't think he's going to be good, his floor is still high enough to warrant quarterback 2 situation. He's going in the 6th round right now. I mean, we just had our startup where we had a monster run of quarterbacks go off at the end of the 4th round into the early 5th round. I believe Tannehill maybe went off at the 502 in the NYC league?
Something around there, yeah.
Right. So he's 502 there. And I would say that's like perfectly where you should be drafting him. And right now, according to our ADP, he's going in the 6th round. So, I mean, you're getting him at value still, but probably won't be the case for much longer. It's not that difficult, man. He's got the contract, so he's locked in as our starter for three years, and you can't underestimate like how powerful that is for just having that floor of a quarterback as your 2 in Superflex.
Yeah, and as for a quarterback too, like you always, not that you always want to shoot for floor, but it's nice to have that safety valve because your QB1 is probably going to give you those elite weeks. The fact that he's going, almost, exactly around after Drew Lock per ADP, 55 overall to 67. Drew Lock had like one good game last year, and sure, they had a bunch of weapons, but Tennessee looked like a very good offense last year, and although the volume wasn't there, they were extremely efficient. And like Mike said, even back in Miami, he wasn't, seen as a very good fantasy quarterback, but looking at his like touchdown percentage numbers, he had 6.2 touchdown percentage in 2018 in Miami, where Devante Parker wasn't who Devante Parker is now. I couldn't even name any other receivers, maybe like Kenny Stills. Now they have a guy like A.J. Brown, Jonnu Smith coming up, Derrick Henry. Animal thinks he can catch. I don't know if he actually can. They don't have any weapons.
I feel like Albert Wilson's breakout was supposedly going to be that year too.
Yeah, his like 45 yards per route run because he ran one route and got 45 yards on it. Yeah, but yeah, the efficiency is there, and like, so what? Lamar Jackson doesn't throw the ball, and I know he runs a lot, but he's also very efficient throwing touchdowns. And I think that's what this Tennessee offense is built around, right? They just run Derrick Henry into the ground till they get in the end zone or around the red zone, and then they throw to A.J. Brown, or he scores like a 90-yard touchdown. So you don't always need to chase volume. And even if you are, right, like guys like Jimmy Garoppolo are going in the same vicinity, and Jimmy Garoppolo was terrible last year, and that wasn't the same with Ryan Tannehill. So he gives you that floor. He gives you that ceiling of being in a good offense. And as a quarterback 18 off the board, he's just the perfect QB too.
Big facts.
Yep. Big facts. Those are the 2 value QBs. Get them. I pretty much try and have them on all of my drafts, except for the Dynasty one, the New York one, because I got freaking
It's like
sniped.
for all my dynasty.
You couldn't go into that with like any sort of normal quarterback fucking playing because everything went haywire.
Yeah. Next up, I put someone on here. I put James Conner. I don't know how you guys feel about him, but I think just given how like RB crazy the drafts are going that I'm seeing, you're gonna have to backfill with some veterans later on. And James Conner right now is going at 74th overall. And is the RB 25. So like in that, so as RB 25, he's going behind guys like Singletary, Gurley, Melvin Gordon. And obviously the big question mark for him is always going to be health. This guy cannot stay healthy. But I think at that price, like I'm willing to just take the weeks that he gives me. Like he was like, I think he was an RB 10 last year from weeks 1 to 8 when he was actually healthy. But obviously, now they get Big Ben back, and before they had Duck Hodgins and Mason Rudolph with the chunk out of his head after he got hit in the face. Like that was not an offense that you wanted. If you think back to the more potent version of the Pittsburgh offense when Big Ben was healthy, like Connor was dominating like goal line touches, right? Like we know Jalen Samuels is not running any goal line touches. We know that McFarland is probably not taking goal line touches. He's more of like that explosive back. So I think, in an offense where Pittsburgh is healthy and Big Ben is back, I think he can provide like RB1 scoring on a points per game basis. And you just have to come to terms with the fact that he's not going to play a full season. And hopefully he plays the games that matter most for you in the playoffs.
That's probably not going to happen. But what he does give you in terms of value is, a lot of running backs go off the board in the first 2, maybe even 3 rounds. And you're not going to be able, like if you want to draft a Melvin Gordon, go right ahead. But you know that you're getting like 1 to 2 years of RB2 type of value. James Conner gives you the opportunity to fade the position. I think I got him in like the 12th round in the NYC league. And I don't expect him to have any type of longevity. But
we're going to link that. We're still in the middle of that draft, by the way. We're going to link the draft board on Sleeper, so you guys can go check out the draft whenever you want. We'll link it in the description
on Discord.
Yeah, but he like gives you the opportunity to fade the running back position if they don't fall at value. Grab him as your running back 1 for this year, maybe next year. I wouldn't really bank on it, but instead of reaching on other guys like I think Keyshawn Vaughn's going 1 spot after him, but like a Devin Singletary who does not have nearly the ceiling as a James Conner. I completely agree with Mike. He's gonna be somebody that gives you a ton of receptions out of that backfield. He's going to be like Le'Veon Bell light, and even if that's only for 8 to 10 weeks, there aren't many running backs in this range or going a little bit after him that are ever going to hit that pinnacle, even if you're banking on the future.
Yeah, you got him at the 12-1. Yeah, and it's funny you said Keyshawn Vaughn because Keyshawn Vaughn went like 5 rounds before James Conner did.
So
Conner,
crazy.
I'm hesitant on Conner only because he fits that mold of guys. Any like veteran running back who's on their last year of the contract is a guy that you need to be weary of. But he's kind of the last one of those. You have Keyshawn Vaughn going before him, but you have like Leonard Fournette on his contract year. You have Todd Gurley on a 1-year contract. You have Chris Carson who's on his final year, and James Conner is getting picked behind all of those guys. So those are the guys you will get like almost 1 year. Like Mike, if you like James Conner, you're assuming it's for this year. Like, what's best case scenario though? You think he'll get re-signed by Pittsburgh? Like, what are the chances of that?
I mean, re-signed by Pittsburgh. I think there's like I think that's actually not as.
Is there any chance
unlikely.
His value goes up after this year?
I don't think so. Actually,
from here, I
don't know. I think if he puts up like an RB2 season, it can't go down from there.
Yeah, I mean, I just think like if you're trying to play a contending team, like he is a great RB3, right? An RB3, RB4, which is exactly where you're getting him.
Yeah.
For that points per game production. Like if you're a contender, I feel like he's gonna be a good value because like in redraft, I'm like
he was great on the field
taking
last year. Yeah, he was great.
And it's like when he misses games, right? Like you don't start a 0 in that slot. I think that's like that's why I like to look at points per game as well as like total games played. Because like you're gonna put someone else in there, right? Like if you draft James Conner, maybe grab an Anthony McFarland, right? You can pair them and just kind of take that Pittsburgh backfield, and it's possible to do both because they're cheap enough.
Yeah, I hear you. That's what makes dynasty startups so fun because you can like, you could start picking guys like the J.K. Dobbins and DeAndre Swift and then have fucking all of Twitter chirping at you like, oh, DeAndre Swift's your RB2. And then you're like, bitch, I could still get James Conner and Melvin Gordon in the 12th round. And now Swift is like my RB4 or 5. So if you want to join a dynasty league, make sure you're in the Discord because we got 81 of them. We got fucking RIP to Kobe Bryant. We got 81 leagues popping off right now. Let's move on to the next one.
Rest in peace, Jalen Rose. We got Kareem Hunt, the RB27 off the board. And he's going behind James. What'd you say?
Sorry. I said love this. I can't believe you passed on him in that fucking 3 picks in a row. To be honest.
Did I? Yeah, I'm a fraud because I'm completely going against my own beliefs. I would definitely take him ahead of Leonard Fournette. Something must have possessed me because I chose him ahead of him in the NYC league. But the running back 27 off the board doesn't make much sense to me because although he's going to be 26 heading into this year, you look at the running back landscape next year, and there are so many teams that have free agents, whether it be Atlanta or Tennessee or Arizona, maybe even Minnesota now. I don't know if Dalvin Cook's going to get his contract, but
Kareem Hunt's going to end up either in Atlanta or San Francisco, guaranteed.
Yeah, San Francisco as well. They have like 3 guys coming off the books. If you're telling me that a 27-year-old Kareem Hunt in 2021 is going to be the lead back for any of those teams, for redraft purposes for that year, he's going to be a top 5, top 6 guy. And I know you might be wondering, oh yeah, he's 27 years old. That means he's going to break down soon. He has like half the total touches as an Ezekiel Elliott. I think he has 612 touches on his body because, he missed a few games. I think in his rookie year, he missed a game. His second year, he obviously got suspended. He was out for most of last year. And
kick that chick in the face.
Yeah, he did a couple unspeakable things. Mike will speak on it.
He did that thing too, though. Yeah.
But you look at the offense that he's in. They bring in Jack Conklin. They bring in Kevin Stefanski, who is a guy who loved running backs last year. Now, that might have been Kubiak's system and the fact that Adam Thielen was hurt a lot of the year. But when you have Kareem Hunt, who is as good as he is, you have Nick Chubb, who is as good as he is, and you have the ability to throw to them out of the backfield, Kareem Hunt's going to be somebody that gives you value not only on the ground, but through the air. Last year, he was on pace for 74 receptions, and I don't see that really changing all too much because they bring in Austin Hooper, but they also bring in an OC who wants to run the ball more and targeted the running back position 28% of the time as opposed to Cleveland's 23%. So even though they bring in another piece, I think that'll offset with the volume going to the running back position. So this year, I see him being a top 24 type of guy, like a James White with rushing upside. Next year, he has a legitimate chance if he keeps his off-the-field actions clean to be like a top 5 or top 6 guy. And even if that's at the age of 27, he gets a 2 or 3 year deal, you're talking about a guy skyrocketing from the RB27 in dynasty circles to maybe like a top 15, top 12 guy, kind of where Kenyan Drake is right now, even though Kenyan Drake's on a 1-year deal.
It's crazy. Sorry, you go.
I'm like, I don't know how I feel about Kareem Hunt because like I thought he was actually a lot better than he was at the end of last year. But then again, it's like a totally new coaching staff. I'm not sure how they're going to use him, but I'm always super wary about like banking on someone getting a second contract like somewhere else because every year the cheapest asset is always the rookie class. So that's kind of like where I'm a little bit hesitant. But like we also know that Kareem Hunt's like really good, right? So it's like I'm like so iffy on him, but like at his current price of RB27, I just feel like it's a good investment to make because again, you're kind of priced to that downside, whereas like you have the upside. I don't think he has top 12 upside. I don't even think he has top 15 upside, but I think he has top 20 upside if he can get signed on a good team.
Yeah, I would say there's like an 80% chance he finishes from RB20 to RB24. I think that's what we're going to get out of him this year. But he's if you're looking at from a backup running back situation, he's arguably in like the worst spot. Like you can go sign with like anyone he signs with next year is going to be better than where he is in Cleveland, right? And I still think he's going to do well this year. And I mean, you said 26. He's 24 right now. He's going to turn 25 in a little bit. So he'll be like 26 next offseason. But so that's 30. Still, yeah, then he's 30.
Yeah.
26.
I think he retired.
But he's still got a couple of years left for sure. Like he can get a nice 3-year contract and play that entire thing out while still in his prime because he doesn't have a lot of volume on his tires. So I think I love Kareem Hunt at that spot. I think he's going to finish better than that this year, and then his value is only going to go up because he's going to land in a place with more opportunity. So Kareem Hunt has a good floor this year, and then the ceiling is. I mean, he came in his fucking rookie year and won the rushing title, right? Like I don't think he needs to prove anything. There's going to be some team out there that probably is already thinking about Kareem Hunt in their plans for 2021, like putting some money towards him rather than maybe investing in a high draft capital pick or something like that. Like, yes, it'll cost them a little bit of money, but maybe they want to use that draft capital elsewhere. I don't know. I feel like Kareem Hunt is a value where his value is only going to go up, right? We like to draft players where their value won't be depreciating the following year. And I think Hunt's more likely than not goes up.
They could cycle out Drake and pull in Hunt. I mean, that would make a lot of sense.
He fits. He's very versatile. So I think he fits in a lot of offenses, especially the ones we're talking about that will have openings for running backs next year.
Yeah.
Next up, we got our boy Chase Edmunds. So I hope Kareem Hunt doesn't take over the Arizona job because we want Chase Edmunds, the current RB57 off the board, to get that lead role. This is, again, just playing on the hopes that Kenyan Drake after this year doesn't re-sign, and there's a sliver of a chance that Chase Edmunds gets the job. And considering that he's going behind a guy like DJ Dallas, who they just brought in, Carlos Hyde, and now they have Rashad Penny and Chris Carson there, I think there's a better chance that Chase Edmunds gets on the field a little bit earlier. Tevin Coleman is off the books after next year, and that guy sucks. Tariq Cohen is basically a scat back that you never want to start. Josh Kelly, he's a Charger, which means he automatically stinks and will probably tear his hamstring in preseason. So you're banking on a guy who is sitting behind somebody on a one-year deal, and the only investment they've made in the position was a 7th-round pick in Eno Benjamin, who closes his eyes and runs when he gets a handoff. So he's somebody who flashed last year when was given the opportunity. Former Fordham Ram, got a friend that goes there, so shout out you. Hopefully you get drafted next year. And I don't know. I just think he has a good skill set for this offense, the ability to catch passes and the ability to run between the tackles, where he tore off like those 4 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns against the New York Giants last year. That was a big enough flash for me to want to invest in him at the 177th pick overall, where basically at that point, you're just shooting for complete upside. And what better upside is there than the RB1 in Arizona Cardinals offense?
Yeah, I
Michael,
think,
I know you're a Drake guy, so I'll let you combat this.
Yeah, look, I don't think he's a handcuff, right? So at the end of the day, like, you can shoot for handcuffs, but I think even if Drake goes down, it's hard for me to see him take a lead role just because he's freaking tiny, right? He's what, 5'9", like 205. I think he's probably more built in that like Austin Eckler role, but I mean,
well, Eckler's just like a beast, so watch your mouth.
Yeah, I mean, Eckler's a beast, but Eckler's also a little bit of a unicorn. And then the Chase Edmonds, like the second that he did get like any sort of like workload last year, he just like fell apart. So I think like, if Drake goes down, chances are he'd probably split some time with eyes closed Benjamin, and like they probably even bring in like another veteran thumper to kind of like split the load. That's how I kind of see them playing out. And then I just don't see like the long-term viability as much, like, because like I said, you're banking on, them not drafting another rookie for cheap. If they draft another like 4th-round rookie, then again, like his job kind of comes into question. But I think for this year, I mean, for redraft and even for this year, if you need like a filler, like he's a pretty good handcuff to have.
Yeah, I'm super interested to see how they operate that backfield. I don't know, what's your confidence level that Drake is. I don't want to say 20 touches because I feel like that gets thrown around in the NFL often, and like, how many running backs finish the fucking year with 300 or 320 touches? Like, not many. So I don't want to say 20, but like, you think Drake is for sure in for a 17 to 18 touch workload?
I think so.
Yeah.
The way Kingsbury used running backs last year, it was like weeks 1 through 7. David Johnson was getting like 19 touches a game. Edmunds in his 2 starts averaged like 19 and a half. And then I think down the stretch, Drake was around like 18 and a half to 19. So I think he wants to use an all-around back that you can just put on the field every snap.
Yeah, this is going to be a funny thing to kind of look back on because, you have Drake who's never actually done it for a full year, but he just exploded down the stretch. It's such a fun, polarizing offense that there are going to be fucking fireworks that come from that backfield, most likely from Kenyan Drake. But I like Chase Edmonds too, man. Anytime he's gotten that chance to do it, he's shown well. But clearly, once they got Drake, he fell behind, even though obviously he was hurt for a little bit. But I like Chase Edmonds here because you're looking at other guys like you said, Tariq Cohen is just not a guy I ever want to. At least with Chase Edmonds, like, when you're going to be able to start him, right?
Yeah.
If for some reason like Kenyan Drake does go down, like that's when Chase Edmonds is going to go off. But like Tariq Cohen, you will like fucking David Montgomery could pass away and you still wouldn't feel good about Tariq Cohen.
Mike Davis will have like 18 carries the next week.
They'll sign Mike Davis off the Eddie Lacy would probably fucking ball out that week whenever it was. So Chase Edmonds, let's flip it to a veteran running back, also a handcuff guy. Latavius Murray, currently going off the board, 198, RB 63. I am intrigued to hear what the thought process behind this was, because this seems like a very much, I guess it's just a straight up handcuff, or I don't even want to say a floor play because I feel like that was
it's a ceiling play, I think.
What we so it's a handcuff ceiling play, because last year we kind of thought that, okay, maybe Latavius Murray has some juice left. This is a great offensive line in New Orleans. You give him a few holes, he'll run through using that like breakaway elite long speed. But that wasn't the case, and he wasn't even really playing the goal line work. I know Alvin Kamara's touchdown numbers were down a lot, but I was looking at some of like the overall rates and ratios of it. Kamara still took like 75 to 80% of the red zone carries, the goal line carries, the 10 zone targets. So it was like the role that we thought Murray might have had as the bigger back kind of evaporated last year. So I'm trying to figure out like where the value is left to squeeze out of Murray. Are you just like saying that, we're so far down in the fucking draft that when you're there, no one has the ceiling that Latavius Murray had.
Yeah.
Everyone's floor is fucking terrible, but no one has that ceiling.
Yeah. Look, this is not if Alvin Kamara plays, he's going to be any value. Like if Alvin Kamara plays, Latavius Murray is no value. But when Alvin Kamara was out, Murray was a beast, right? Like he was I remember so I won the DFS. I won so much DFS just playing Latavius Murray as soon as Alvin Kamara went out, just because you're in a high-powered offense, they're going to score. And when Kamara was gone, like he got the goal line touches. So I think when you're in this range, right, you're basically only shooting for upside. And, chances are, Benjamin is going to give you 0 starts for his entire fucking career. Tevin Coleman is trash.
Chase Edmunds, baby. Let's go.
Raquel Armstead, like, even if Leonard Fournette goes down, like, I don't even know what that offense is going to look like. So I'm not trying to invest in that offense. So if you're looking in this range, you want to find, like, high-powered offenses, and you want to –
Animal goes by and mumbles, I just tweeted about Raquel.
That's so on brand.
I'm gonna fucking look at what it is. Hold on. He's gonna say about something about how he stole. Okay, wow, look at me, 2 exclamation points. Got another one of my guy. Got another one of guys in the 19. Yeah, you fucked it up, you idiot. 1906, Raquel Armstead. Fournette is basically done in Jacksonville. Only a matter of time before it's Raquel season.
On logic, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I would much rather have Latavius Murray, like if I'm trying to contend, even if I'm not trying to contend, right? Like you're just holding him on there, and if Kamara goes down, you just flip him for a third, right? And if you get a third at pick 199, that's good value. And if you're contending and Kamara goes down, you have an RB1 on your hands. So this is like in this range of the draft, I'm basically shooting for like binary outcomes where, if they hit big, and if they miss, like whatever, you just drop them. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
and there was a week last year where I sat Chase Edmunds for Latavius Murray, and I lost that week because of it. So I'm not the biggest Latavius Murray fan, but as you say, Mike, right, when Alvin Kamara is out, it was no secret that Latavius Murray was tearing everybody up. That Chicago run defense over the first half of the year was really good. I remember he went out and he scored like 2 touchdowns after everybody was tweeting, don't start him. They don't allow any rushing touchdowns. Latavius Murray is like, nah, fuck that noise. I'm going to go out and put up 35 fantasy points, but not enough for Noah to be able to start me over Chase Edmunds. So we're going to forget that. But yeah, as you said, nobody else in this range really has that type of upside. He also caught a ton of passes when he was starting, which I found pretty surprising, even though he did that a little bit in Minnesota. But I guess that's just the offense that Drew Brees wants to run. He's a little bit older, so I don't see the longevity play. But if you're just playing for this year and you're a contender and you want that handcuff, go up and like send a 4th-round pick for him in a rookie draft, because that's probably all it's going to take for you to acquire Latavius Murray.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to grab him as a handcuff if you're a Kamara guy. I'm looking at the other guys. He went at the 18-12 to Mike in our draft, and the other guys in that round were like Russell Gage, Damian Harris, Brissett, Jacob Eason, Antonio Gannon-Golden, Corey Davis, DJ Dallas, Latavius Murray.
So those were all animals picks.
When you look at it that way, it's like they all – I mean, it's the 18th round of a dynasty startup. They all have a very good chance of not doing shit for you ever, not having another fantasy-relevant game in their career, but none of those guys have anywhere near the ceiling that Latavius Murray has. So that, I guess that does make sense. When you
it's wild. Animal has come up Kamara, and he picked everyone except Latavius Murray.
He was waiting on him. You sniped him, actually. 18 rounds into the draft, you sniped him.
All right, let's move on to the wide receiver group. Next up, my boy. I mean, I guess my boy for this year, but Devante Parker. And this is just a case where, I think, I suffer from this. Like, I've been calling him a fraud for like 4 or 5 years because he has been a fraud. But I think –
Are you overcompensating now?
I don't think I'm overcompensating. I think I'm just adjusting. I'm just adjusting like naturally because he balled out.
Water,
like,
Mike, be water.
He balled out this year, and I think his price does not reflect what he has done, and his price does not reflect the investment the team has made in him, and the price definitely does not reflect the upgrades the team has made with like Tua in terms of longevity. And I think that like the wide receiver 31 price, he's one of the main reasons why I'm totally cool like fading wide receiver early. He's still like 27, I think, going to be 28 next year in his prime. So look, he's going to give you pretty decent production, I think. And if I'm betting on someone to produce out of that Miami offense, I'm going to bet on Devante Parker. And I think I'm taking that painful history discount where like people just like are just like they're not ready to trust him yet because it's like 1 year versus 4 years. But I think there's been enough changes and he's shown enough from an efficiency perspective for me to buy in. Because, let's say like he just like compiled a bunch of shit like Kelvin Benjamin, I wouldn't be as excited, but he was pretty efficient.
A bunch of calories too.
Yeah, he's just really good as a wide receiver. So I'm totally happy copping this mash on.
I'm really
Devontae
surprised he's going all the way down at 90. I feel like that is so low for Devontae Parker, considering like the ceiling that he could have. If he just operates as the wide receiver one all year, he's going to be easy top 15 wide receiver. And he's got that contract extension. Again, like people so underestimate just having the safety of being on a team and knowing your fucking role for the next couple of years. You don't have to fucking sneak by like you think these people. Why is he, I haven't?
I'd love to see you on
I've
screen.
heard him giggling, and I didn't know if that was a TV or animal. He's been giggling for fucking 20 straight minutes. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, Devontae Parker. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, I think the years with Adam Gase and him being injured really tainted our perspective on Devontae Parker. But the fact that last year, after Preston Williams went down, which people are saying that's going to be a reason why he's not going to do as well this year, I do think Preston Williams is good, but he's coming off an ACL tear. He's undrafted. Devontae Parker is getting the bag, so they're going to be using him. I think those down years are kind of being they're being talked about way too much because what he showed last year against top tier competition, burning Stephon Gilmore and then burning Michael Thomas on Twitter, just tells me he's a very, very good wide receiver. And now Chen Gailey is the OC in this offense. And back in the Jets, he had multiple fantasy relevant wide receivers with Eric Decker and Brandon Marshall because he throws to his wide receivers a ton in the red zone. One year, they both had 20 red zone targets. And if they're down around the red zone, I don't see Mike Gesicki taking over that role. He's not a big touchdown guy. Preston Williams could get that role, but that also means Devontae Parker will have the opportunity to command a pretty big target share inside the red zone. So he's picking up those chunk yardages on deep plays. He's going to be a red zone monster for this team. He scored, I think he had like 9 touchdowns last year. So yeah, he's still in his prime, and people are picking him as if he's on a downward trend in his career when he just basically started last year.
You don't think Jordan Howard's going to be the main red zone target? Yeah, I can't wait for them to make a third. I think that's going to be a piece of content that Big Dogs is going to have to make, like a video. We're going to have to do a 30 for 30 on all the guys. Like it's going to be like how the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're going to do it on them, how they had KD, James Harden, whatever. We're going to have to do that with Adam Gase. Like, what if we told you he made a wide receiver 72 into, some shit like that. So we got to take all the fantasy players that Adam Gase has ever had, turn it into a fucking featured film, and we'll send it to him. We'll tweet at it.
Animal's excuse for Michael Piron for the next 4 years.
Yeah. All right. So Devontae Parker, grab that motherfucker. Who else we got?
Yeah. Next up, Christian Kirk, favorite of mine and Noah's as well. He's going as the wide receiver 34, 98th off the board after Devontae Parker. Guys going ahead of him are like Ruggs and Thielen. And look, I love Thielen for this year. I actually think he's a pretty decent value too. But just given where they are in their age curve, like I'm definitely copping this mash on Christian Kirk all day. People are gonna not like the fact that Nuke came over. But at the end of the day, like I always viewed Kirk as a wide receiver too. Like I've never viewed him as a wide receiver one. And I think having Nuke there is good for him. And as Larry kind of like fizzles out and, this offense like takes that next step forward, like he's going to be the one that really develops with Kyler. And we've talked about his profile coming in. He was an elite profile coming in. He actually did really good his rookie year, despite playing with Josh Rosen. And he took a bit of a step back last year. Was hurt as well. Really only had that one blow up week, but look, I'm still all in on Christian Kirk at wide receiver 3 prices.
Yeah, he's somebody that I was super high on a little bit earlier before the D-Hop trade, and then he obviously fell down in my rankings. But where he's going at the wide receiver 34, that's a price I'm willing to pay on him because, as Mike said, he's still super young. He's still building chemistry with Kyler Murray, and the situation he was put in, right? He was catching passes from Sammy Sleeves. He was catching passes from Josh Rosen. He was trying to catch passes from Kyler Murray in a brand new offense with Cliff Kingsbury, who would not throw the ball or do anything other than kick from inside the 5-yard line. Now he's in an offense that has an actual alpha to take away targets. No shade thrown at you, Larry Fitzgerald, but you're about like 150 years old. And it's an offense that wants to throw the ball and be high volume. So although they do have an alpha in DeAndre Hopkins there, they had 2 wide receivers last year put up over 100 targets, and Christian Kirk didn't play a full season. So even if Hopkins goes out there and commands his 150, 160, 170 targets, he can be a guy who is extremely efficient on 100 to 110 targets and put up a pretty good season, like a Tyler Lockett light type of season, if he builds that chemistry with Kyler Murray where he can extend plays while Kyler Murray is scrambling outside the pocket.
Yeah, he's such a good role player to have on. It's a weird term to use for a fantasy team, but like Mike said, if you know your place with Christian Kirk, he's not going to give you the wide receiver 1 upside, but last year. I mean, it was the first year with Kyler Murray. It was the first year with everything kind of starting to click. He's averaging double-digit half PPR fantasy points, 108 targets in 13 games. I mean, he's gonna flirt with 120 targets this year, even with D-Hop there, because this is going to be a pretty high volume passing offense going forward. I will say though, like Adam Thielen around that spot, like Noah, when you grabbed him in our league, and I think it was like the 9-6 or 9-7, that was one of those picks again where you're just like, it can't fall any further than that. It would be fucking irresponsible of us to let him go any further. I think he's a great value pick too, because he's someone his redraft outlook just for this year is worth the 9th round, 8th round investment, because he could anchor you could have faded wide receivers this year, picked up running backs, tight ends, whatever, and still get wide receiver 1 production out of Thielen with Stephon Diggs gone. So I like Thielen there. I like Christian Kirk there. I actually personally would probably grab Thielen over Kirk in most situations, unless you're in full, go for it next year or the year after mode. Though I think Thielen probably has like two really solid years ahead of him. But Kirk, yeah, I mean, there's nothing bad to like about the situation he's in. He's just a very good player, a very good prospect. We've seen him do it on the NFL field. He's got an up-and-coming quarterback who's an elite prospect that's coming into the prime of his career, one of the most, engaging offenses that we'll see in the NFL. So all signs point to this just being a good investment into a player. There's nothing not to like about it.
Up next, another guy who is perceived to be old. We have Robert Woods, the wide receiver for the Rams, currently wide receiver 29 off the board. And Nick, I'll ask you this question. Who is everybody except Mike's wide receiver 1 for Dynasty?
CeeDee Lamb.
Yes, Michael Thomas, you're right. Michael Thomas.
I thought you meant rookies. I don't know why. I'm thinking like a rookie right now. That's why I went to rookies.
All good. Michael Thomas is 1 year younger than Robert Woods. And the only reason why Robert Woods is the wide receiver 29 in Dynasty is because people think he is old. The guy is going to be 28 years old this season. He's put up back-to-back seasons with 1,200 yards. He is playing with a quarterback that got a crazy and probably dumb extension with the Rams. He's just one of the highest floor guys you can get in Dynasty. I believe he signed for 2 more years there, so maybe he's going to be looking for a contract when he's 30, but everything he's shown is that he can be versatile. He can eventually move into the slot where he doesn't have to be as athletic to win and be an outside wide receiver. And what he showed down the stretch the last 7 or 8 games, he was the wide receiver 5 over that span. He was on pace for like 120 catches, 1,500 yards, and a very Robert Woods-esque 5 touchdowns. And every single game over that span, 5 of the 7 was over 95% of the offensive snaps. The other 2 was around the 80 mark, but he put up like 160 yards in one of them, and I think he topped 100 in the other one as well. And those are both coming off the 1 week where he like randomly missed a game, so maybe that had to do with it. I don't know. I just see a guy who is going to be a fringe wide receiver 1 for as long as he is in Los Angeles, and wants to say he doesn't go there after his contract expires. They re-sign him. He's just a really good floor play in an offense that may be using 2 tight end sets more often. But even if that's the case, those 2 tight end sets, he was still on the field a ton for those. He was, he's not a red zone type of guy, but he gets enough volume for you that even in half PPR leagues, he's going to flirt with top 12, top 15 numbers year after year. So he's in the similar vein as Adam Thielen for me, where you can argue him being a wide receiver 1 for this season. And there's a really realistic chance that going forward in the future, he's going to continue that production.
Yeah, I love Woods because the concern going into this year is, what do we see as the base offense for LA? Is it 3 wide receivers, or do they do the 2 wide receiver sets like we saw a lot of last year? And with Woods, the great part about him is it doesn't matter, because he's versatile enough that he's good on the outside. He's good in the slot, which he doesn't really play that much because Cooper Kupp is the slot guy. But if they go to two wide receivers, like Kupp is going to be the one that has his work cut out for him, because he's not someone who wins athletically. He's not someone who's skilled as a technician. And Robert Woods is much more suited to play on the outside. So if they go 2 more tight ends, then we should see a lot more what we saw down the stretch from Woods. So yeah, like with Thielen, Woods, if you faded the position, you're going to get top 15 production from Robert Woods. You're going to get it from Thielen. So these guys in like the 8th, 9th round, you'll get good production out of both of them probably for like 2 to 3 year spans. And the age thing, yeah, like 27, 28 years old is not, it's not time to be completely concerned when you're investing into a guy in the 9th round.
Bobby Trees, man, love him. Draft him everywhere. That's all I have to say.
Love that.
Next up, we got another guy that we talked about, I believe last week. It's Tyler Lockett, the wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. Currently wide receiver 32 overall, and that's just utter disrespect. I think people are thinking that just because DK Metcalf is good means that Tyler Lockett can't be good, even though last year we saw both of them be good. So I don't see how that equation makes any type of sense. But even though DK Metcalf took that step forward throughout the season, Tyler Lockett was the wide receiver one in this offense for the entire year. Before he hurt his calf, his pace for the season was 99 receptions, 1,269 yards, and 10 touchdowns. And people might say, oh, he's just a guy that relies on his speed as he gets older. He's 28. As he gets older, he's not going to have that in his repertoire anymore. He led the league in red zone targets. He led the league in red zone receptions, and he was third in the league in red zone touchdowns with 7. He is basically Doug Baldwin all over again, but younger, more explosive for now at least. And as he ages, he's going to be somebody that can move into the slot, be more of a technician as he's shown already in his career, and just be somebody that is Russell Wilson's safety blanket and somebody that he has shown immense chemistry with over the past 2 seasons. Curtis Patrick actually put up a tweet that he is like one of 7 receivers over the past 2 years to put up 225 plus fantasy points in back-to-back years. He also has the second most receiving touchdowns over the past 2 years. He is just Doug Baldwin for him all over again. They have immense chemistry. He had like a 158.3 quarterback rating when targeting Lockett in 2018. And even if DK Metcalf takes that step forward, which everybody thinks he will, Tyler Lockett isn't somebody that needs 150 targets to be a wide receiver one. He saw like 120 this year, and he was still a fringe wide receiver one. So in an offense that isn't going to be a high volume passing offense, it's pretty consolidated between those two guys. And even if he sees 110 to 120 targets, he's going to be efficient enough on those catches and on those opportunities to be able to flirt with top 15 numbers. And going outside the top 30, I don't understand that price for somebody who's going to be a very valuable contributor for you for at least the next 2 years.
Yeah, I mean the Tyler Lockett to Russell Wilson connection, like I don't even think this is a hot take. This is supported by like the number side of things. They're probably the best connection in the NFL. And the only
Herbert and Keenan Allen, though, they've been working in LA.
Yeah, I think the only reason why like people don't talk about him as much is because obviously, you know, Tyler Lockett isn't someone that gets like 170 targets, so you're not going to get Drew Brees to Michael Thomas type numbers. But on like a target basis, like target for target basis, like the efficiency that they achieve on like deep balls, like TD conversion, like everything is like the passer rating, which is actually a pretty bad metric, but just everything that they do together is like elite. And, you know, I like DK Metcalf, right? And I think he'll continue to take that step forward. But to me, I think it's so clear that Tyler Lockett is still the dude in Seattle. And I think he's just going like way, way, way too cheap. And if you're like a contender and, you know, you believe in Russ and you want to get a piece of that passing game, I think getting the Tyler Lockett discount to DK Metcalf is probably like the ideal path to go, similar to how Robert Woods is a bit of an arbitrage to Cooper Kupp. I think that Tyler Lockett is a bit of an arbitrage to DK Metcalf.
Yeah. That the chemistry between them two is just is so real. I feel like if you could like there would be no one more upset if you had someone like a team moved a certain player away from that team and another player on the team would be really pissed about it. I don't know if you could find someone more pissed about the Seattle Seahawks moving Tyler Lockett than Russell Wilson be. And I feel like Russell Wilson is a very low-key guy, but he would be upset about this because the chemistry between those two, like you said, is so unmatched. And I don't understand. Like, there's no reason. I understand trying to get ahead of the curve and be like, yes, this is DK Metcalf's like step up breakout year, and Lockett's going to fall to the wayside. But there's been nothing we have seen that would suggest that. Like, there's no evidence that Tyler Lockett is not old. It's not like their chemistry fell off last year. So, yeah, I think the arbitrage play of Lockett over Metcalf is even better than Woods over Kupp. So Lockett going all the way down here, yeah, I think he has even more longevity than the other guys. I think he's an actual staple of that offense just because of how much Russell Wilson loves throwing to this guy.
Yeah, exactly. And next up, someone that I've been pounding the drum for I don't know, so long now. And it seems like, you know, he's getting a little bit more Twitter love recently, but it's Marvin Jones Jr. And I think if you are a contending team and you're not making a move for Marvin Jones Jr., I think you're doing yourselves a great disservice. This is the greatest arbitrage play available. He's currently going at 165 as the wide receiver 59. And when he was healthy last season, he was putting up wide receiver 2 numbers. Kenny Golladay was averaging, I believe, 15.5 points per game last year in PPR formats. Marvin Jones was averaging 14.9. So for a basically half point difference. You're getting like almost like, what is it, like 8-round discount, because Kenny Galladay is currently going in the 4th round, more than an 8-round discount. So obviously the value of Kenny Galladay is going to continue to go up. But if you're looking at it from a contender standpoint, like I basically sent out offers like in, I don't know, February or so, and every single league I'm a contender, I sent out like an offer of like a 3rd round pick for Marvin Jones. And more often than not, that got it done. I think now maybe you have to pay like a couple thirds or try and get him as a throw in, but he's just like, he's like one of those guys where like, I think wide receivers don't matter, especially when you have like all the people on like Twitter being like, oh, you can get this guy at wide receiver 5 prices and he'll get you like a wide receiver 3 production. Who gives a fuck? Nobody cares. Like, that's not going to do you any favors. That's not going to win you the week. But Marvin Jones is potentially giving you like wide receiver 2 numbers, and on any given week, he's giving you like wide receiver 1 upside. So I think that's the type of upside I'm going to choose to chase at the wide receiver position. Another reason why like you can get values like this late in draft, you can fade wide receiver early.
Yeah, he's
I'm
the
having a
James
hard
Conner
time.
wide receivers. Like, he's going to get hurt, but the weeks that he plays, he's going to be very good for you. And he did have that one game that boosted his production. He had 4 touchdowns. And if you take out that one game, which we don't like to do, he goes from the wide receiver 18 to the wide receiver 38. But even then, he's being drafted as the wide receiver 59. And even if it's for 1 or 2 more seasons, like that's still good value in an offense that, we want TJ Hawkinson to be good. It takes a little bit for tight ends to break out. We know Marvin Jones is a huge weapon in the red zone, in the end zone. I think he had like 9 red zone targets this year in like 13 games, which if you pace that out, or inside the 10 targets, like it would have ranked among like the top 10 guys. So he's just somebody that gets the high value deep targets, the red zone and end zone targets, for him to be an every week starter for you as a flex option where you can grab him in like the 14th, 15th round.
Yeah, with Jones, I mean, I guess the price that you're getting him at, there's really no need to even discuss the red flags because everyone down there has ridiculous red flags. But he is 30, so he is actually old for a wide receiver.
He's actually 30.
But yeah, he's actually 30, not 22, turning 30. He hasn't finished the season since 2017. So usually when you're getting older and you start dealing with the injuries, it's a little tougher to come back from them. He has seen his yards per reception number dip in 3 straight seasons. So maybe it's a lack of explosion. Maybe it's that some of the deep targets are going towards Kenny Galladay, which is definitely a fact. He's getting a ton of deep balls, and that's pulling away from Marvin Jones' game a little bit. But he has been a very consistent staple down by the red zone. He's always one of Stafford's first looks. So if Stafford's back and healthy, then you have to like Marvin Jones as a potential wide receiver 2 candidate. But I mean, the beware, obviously, red flags there, of course, the injuries of the last couple of years, and he's competing now for the wide receiver 2 role, expecting TJ Hawkinson to still slowly acclimate into an actual weapon for Stafford. So yeah, if you're competing for this year, I mean, it makes no sense not to take Marvin Jones where he's being drafted.
Bingo. Last one.
Yep. Moving over to tight ends. We got our boy Tyler Higbee, the tight end 10 off the board and going to 107th overall. This just doesn't make that much sense to me. He's going a lot later than Darren Waller, who both of them have 1 year of production, and they're both 27, but he's like younger than Darren Waller because he was born after Darren Waller. He's going after Noah Fant, who I personally don't think is that good. He's not somebody who's gonna get a ton of targets. They bring in, they have Cortland Sutton, they bring in Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Melvin Gordon, the god out of the backfield. There's just gonna be so many targets there's not gonna be enough targets to go around there. Whereas Tyler Higbee is in an offense that down the stretch last year showed that they wanted to use him a ton. Those last handful of weeks that he was out there, he was averaging 11.2 targets a game. That's obviously not going to remain this year because Cooper Kupp down the stretch wasn't being used as heavily. With Brandon Cooks out of the fold, Todd Gurley not there to run for like 3 yards and fumble every carry. There's still targets for them to go around and still throw to Tyler Higbee as much as they were last year. He was huge for them in the red zone. He actually led the team in red zone targets with 19. But over the last 5 weeks, he put up 13 red zone targets, which was 2.6 a game, and he averaged one inside the 10 target over those last 5 weeks per game. So he's somebody that is not only giving you overall volume, but he's giving you touchdown upside. And in Dynasty, you can't just scavenge and go after the waiver wire to pick up a tight end to start for you week to week. You need to have the depth at the position or one of the elite guys. And when you're talking about the elite of the elite, I see Tyler Higbee as one of them because he is still relatively young for the tight end position. He's 27, and he's signed through 2023, and he seems to be a big part of this offense going forward. So I don't see why he's going behind any of those names, even like a Hunter Henry, who's going through a quarterback change this year and cannot stay healthy. Like, I would much rather have Tyler Higbee at his price going later than all those guys.
Yeah, I think if Everett broke out last year, we would be so much more excited about Everett just because he's a little bit more athletic. But like Higbee took on everything we wanted Everett to be, and Everett's going to be gone. After I believe his contract is up after this year, so Higbee becomes a guy. It's a little tough to buy into it only because it was such a small sample size at the end of the year. But it was just so fucking good, and everything is set up for it to continue to be really good there. Like we said, they go with the 2 tight end sets. They're going to use the other tight end as probably a blocker and let Higbee kind of run free and be that primary over the middle option for Jared Goff, who seems to love Higbee. So yeah, I don't know if he's a guy I'm like necessarily targeting as a great value in every draft, but he's someone I definitely want to have some piece of because he showed just how high his upside could be.
Yeah. Also, I want to throw in these ADPs are for tight end premium leagues, and he's going 107th overall, which is what, like round 9, like the beginning of round 9. I think that's a huge steal when you're getting the volume that he's getting, giving you 1.5 points per reception.
Yeah, when I've been missing out on the elite tight ends, I've basically been waiting on Higbee on the back end of the later on in the draft. And look, he had an incredible year, right? Like, it's not hyperbole to say that 5-game stretch was the greatest 5-game stretch by any tight end in like NFL history. So
hey, Mike, I got a stat right here.
But
He's
who's
the
counting?
only tight end since Kellen Winslow Jr. to put up 80 yards in 5 straight games. So a good comp athletically, not great morally, but that 5-game stretch for Kellen Winslow is pretty good.
Yeah, 80 games, 5-game stretch. I think 4 of those games he scored. He had 100 yards or more. And like, if you look at it from the efficiency perspective, he was outstanding. He ranked with receivers, running backs, and tight ends with 50 or more targets. He ranked 7th overall in yards per route run at 2.6. And those types of efficiency metrics are the ones that tend to be more sticky and earn you more volume year after year. So it's really interesting to see someone like him who people are not as excited about. And then you look at someone like Mike Gesicki, who everyone's hyped about because he had also really good counting stats at the end of last season. But when you look at him, he had 1.09 yards per route run. Spoiler alert, guys, that is not fucking good. That is absolute trash. That ranks 112th out of all receivers, running backs, and tight ends. So when you I think a lot of people are going to be like, well, I'm going to fade Higbee and get someone like Gesicki. Like, you really need to look at the efficiency stats for tight ends. I think that's what's going to get you the production and the stickiness year over year. And we already talked about like the way their offense has shifted. Like, they don't have the offensive line to really run like super heavy 3 wide receiver sets like they used to back in the heydays. And in the red zone, like Bobby's trees, I love that dude, but he's not really a red zone threat. Cooper Kupp is, but it's really just between Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee when it comes down to getting touchdowns as well. So I think he's really built up for like a nice year. He's got that pretty sneaky like top 5 upside. Right now he's going pretty late in BDG leagues. In leagues that I'm in, he's going a little bit earlier at like, tight end 8, tight end 7. So he's going at value. But I think right now in big dogs leagues, like, he's definitely someone you guys should be clicking the smash and draft him out.
Yeah, so go fucking join a Big Dogs League right now. You do that by joining Discord. Absolutely free. You'll get in there. We got over fucking 2,000 members, which is incredible. Remember when we were going to cut it off at like 500?
Yeah, I remember on Slack, I was hyped at like 45 members. Like,
when we switched everyone over from Slack to Discord, it was such a fuck show.
Some guy just DM'd me today on Slack asking to join the Discord. I'm like, man, where have you been?
That's funny. So we got a lot of heads over there in Discord and a lot of leagues going off. So if you want to take advantage of some of these ADP numbers, these arbitrage numbers, we laid out some of our favorite values for y'all today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel. If y'all are new, we will be back with Dynasty content every single Wednesday. Make sure you follow these 2 hooligans on Twitter if you want some more nuggets throughout the week, if you can't wait till Wednesday. If you want access to the ADP as well as our rankings, as well as all of our rookie profiles, Mike's Big Dogs Dynasty Startup Bible, which is an absolute fucking thing of beauty. I read it over today. It's going to be published either tomorrow, or by the time you guys see this, it'll probably be live. You can either get it on BigDogsDraftGuide.com, or if you're in a state that is eligible for, FanDuel, DraftKings, those states, go to monkeyknifefight.com, use the promo code BDGE when you sign up, and you will get all the guides for free with your first $10 deposit. You got to play a game, though.
Play a $2 game.
You do have to play a $2 game, so don't fucking not play and then email me about why you didn't get your damn guide. Thank you for throwing that in there, Mike. All right, I think that's all we got for today. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
Missed the narrative.
Peace.
Do you want
to add the narrative?
Yeah, I got a narrative.
All right, fuck it. We ain't done. We ain't fucking leaving.
I'm not leaving. I'm not fucking leaving!
We fucking leave it. All right. This week's narrative. Alexander Madison is as good as Dalvin Cook. What do you guys think?
I think he's better.
Get the fuck out of here.
No, this is this a rhetorical question? Like, do I have to answer this?
Yeah, you do. Because, I mean, there's actually real life people out there that, I mean, first of all, like, RBs don't matter.
Cult
obviously.
experts, Mike, and they're very smart.
Yeah, but, like, I mean, today my Twitter feed is filled with clips of Alexander Madison balling out on a small sample size, albeit. But, you know, they think that without Dalvin Cook there, like, Madison is probably, like, he's, like, flirting with, like, RB1 territory. So
I would like to see
if Cook holds out, where do you guys have him?
That's the better question
for this season.
No, get that first because I want to look at a few numbers real quick.
I would definitely say inside the top 12. I mean, we saw Mike Boone last year get like 2 starts, and the first game wasn't great, but the second game, I think it was against Green Bay, and he just like tore their faces off. And I think he has that skill set to be a guy that can play on all 3 downs. He's a decent enough pass catcher, and he was efficient on the volume he was given this year. So I think if Dalvin Cook were to go down, I don't think it's crazy to see him as like a top 12, top 10 guy, especially in that type of offense where they want to run the ball a lot. They have a good run blocking offensive line. I actually don't know that, but I'm just assuming based on what they did last year. So, I don't hate Madison. I think you can get him like right now. Obviously, right now in Dynasty startups, he's probably going way higher than he should be because of this. But I have no clue what you just said, but I'll let you go now because I was just rambling at that point.
I love that I just like I've done that 10 times this episode where I just cut you off and you can't actually hear what I'm saying. You just like pause me fucking sentence. No, I'm saying his ADP is probably going to jump up to like the fucking 8th round after this Dalvin Cook news. But I think what's so underrated with Dalvin Cook is like not only does he operate as the workhorse, but there are like a lot of running backs that operate with very high workloads, but they can't. Like Dalvin Cook legit breaks away for like 70-yard touchdowns almost bi-weekly, and he also can catch 65 to 70 passes in a given season. And most running backs, even if they're given a full workload, can't do either of those things. And Madison definitely proved myself wrong. He's a lot more talented than I thought he would be on an NFL field. And I do agree he would have to be inside your top 10 running backs if Dalvin Cook does hold out for the season. I don't know. Some people would probably start throwing him into like the RB6 or 7 spot. That's just not something I don't think I'm willing to do. I don't think he's anywhere near the pass catcher that Dalvin Cook is, and he doesn't give you those explosive plays that Dalvin Cook is. And Cook also reminds me of a guy like Aaron Jones when they're on the goal line, like very shifty, very good vision. He knows the holes to hit. He doesn't need to be big to get into the end zone. And I think that's an underrated part of Dalvin Cook's game too. Last year he had, I think, 13 rushing touchdowns in 13 or 14 games. So these are all things that are underrated when it comes to Dalvin Cook that I don't think it's just a plug and play replacement. So Madison, yeah, he'd be really good because his floor would be so high, but I don't think he offers anywhere near the ceiling that Dalvin Cook would over the full stretch of a season.
Yeah, I mean, like if you guys don't remember, like Dalvin Cook was averaging like 25 points per game in PPR last year. Like he was like neck and neck with Christian McCaffrey until McCaffrey kind of went super ham. Mm-hmm. But look, I think it's tricky, right? Because I think the new CBA, I'm trying to like understand it. It's like every source I read is a little bit different. But if the new CBA applies this year, it's going to be very hard for Dalvin Cook to hold out for any significant amount of time. Like even through like training camp, he's like it's costing him like $40K like a day.
You can just drop him out an album like Lev Bell though and make that quick.
Yeah, and then after a few days, you like basically lose another like season that counts towards your free agency eligibility. So I would advise people to not panic and go out and start paying like, you know, a bunch of like 2nd round picks and like drafting Madison in like the 10th round of startups. I just don't think it's worth it because you're going to get into a very same situation as like you got with Zeke and Pollard. Like look, Cook's asking for like what 13 million. He's not getting that. We all know that. Yeah. But like that's like the starting point. I do think like given the Vikings philosophy and what they want to do, there's a better chance for them to kind of get to resolution than like someone like Le'Veon Bell and or even Melvin Gordon last year. So I'm not like that concerned yet that Cook's holding out just because there's so many things working against him. And I do think he's going to play the season.
Yeah, this is like a Darrell Henderson type of situation last year when we found out that Todd Gurley's knee was shit and like everybody started drafting him really high and it didn't matter. Like obviously if Dalvin Cook holds out, Alexander Madison's going to be a huge value for you right now if you buy. But I think the way his price is trending up right now, I'd much rather just miss out on him than overpay for somebody who's never going to make my starting lineup.
Yeah, like you're gonna buy Alexander Madison for the same price that you can get like Adam Thielen when this is all said.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
2
pretty
weeks.
much.
You can get a backup running back, or you can get like a top 8 wide receiver for the year. So yeah, I'm not about to go nuts over it. If I'm a Dalvin Cook owner, I'm obviously a little bit skeptical, and I would hope that if you are a Dalvin Cook owner, then you took Alexander Madison in the 13th round instead of waiting for the 14th round for someone to fucking snipe him from you. But yeah, I'm with these two, and I'm not about to get as excited as some people are in the industry. He's one of those guys that, like, if you liked him as a prospect, now this is your chance to be like, oh, he'd be a top 3 fucking running back if Dalvin Cook holds out. So,
all right, that's all, folks.
that's the real end.
Yeah, it's a real
Thank
end.
y'all for sticking around.
Get on that Big Dogs ADP. Get on the Big Dogs draft guide. Get in the Discord. Read the Bible tomorrow. A lot of shit coming out. Just